Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. A very warm welcome to Florence, and a special welcome also to those who are joining us online. I'm Gloria Aura Bortolini. I'm the Master of Ceremony for this first European Degree Forum, organized by the European Commission in cooperation with the European University Institute's Florence School of Transnational Governance, and hosted in this stunning location. As a travel journalist and a host of a TV show about art and culture, I find myself especially at home here in the beautiful Badia Fiesolana, a place rich in history that has preserved knowledge and learning from the Middle Ages to the present day. So it's the perfect location to discuss the value of the joint European degree label and the possible joint European degree. Let me start by asking you a question. How many of you have had a transformative educational experience in a foreign country? Please feel free to raise your hand. I'm glad to see so many hands raised. I should raise my hand too, because my own journey in education has taken me across different countries with 2 Erasmus experiences and degrees earned in both Italy and Spain. And this international background has deeply shaped my career and perspective, highlighting the immense value of intercultural dialogue that I aim to foster through my work. For this reason, I'm particularly proud of being here today, because this forum marks a significant milestone in Europe's ongoing journey towards a more connected, forward-looking and inclusive European higher education area. This forum brings together the community that is leading this change: political leaders, academics, students, stakeholders, and representatives from the employment sector, and it will become a regular gathering to take stock of the progress towards a vision of learning without borders. Over the next 2 days, the program will combine plenary session with high-level speeches and smaller technical discussion to analyze specific challenges and solutions. Both this morning and tomorrow morning session will be live streamed to colleagues following online. The afternoon breakout sessions, however, are only intended for in-person participants. For those attending in person, you can direct any question to the colleagues with the orange badge who are part of the organizing team. So thank you once again for being here and for contributing to this important moment. I would like now to start the European Degree Forum with the special video message from the European Commission's Executive Vice President for Social Rights and Skills, Quality Jobs and Preparedness, Roxana Minzato. Can we have the video, please?
Today marks an important milestone in our journey to make the European education area and Union of Skills a reality. Too often, our students and our universities face obstacles when trying to build a truly European learning experience, with fragmented rules, with barriers between national systems, with complex recognition procedures. My vision for European education is simple: a continent where knowledge knows no borders, where ideas and talent circulate freely. The joint European degree brings us closer to this vision, one that is more connected, more innovative, and more inclusive, one that protects and promotes our European values and identity, and one that prepares young people for a fast-changing world. We want universities to pool their strength to offer top-class joint study programs and make them accessible to a wide range of students, to train the future innovators and leaders that Europe needs to stay competitive and to stay resilient. These joint study programs should become an integral part of our higher education offer. We want more students to experience the best of what Europe has to offer: excellent education across countries. We want to prepare students for the unknown, to be adaptable to new environments and encourage them to step out of their comfort zone, and to be well prepared for an increasingly interconnected world. We want graduates whose qualifications are recognized and valued by employers everywhere in Europe. And we want employers to help design programs and ensure students are well prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. This is about making our education systems work together to serve our learners and our societies. In a world where knowledge, skills, technology drive prosperity, Europe must remain a place where young people can learn, can grow, and work together across borders. The joint European degree will help us to do just that and make our systems better at retaining and attracting the best talent in Europe. Thanks to your work, we are preparing to launch the Joint European Degree label. It shows what we can do when we align our ambitions across countries. The label will highlight joint study programs that already reflect the European spirit. Programs built and delivered together by universities from several countries with integrated mobility opportunities for students in joint innovative curricula. Our ambition is that by mid-2026, universities will be able to apply for this label. This work will pave the way towards a joint European degree. We need to work on this together, all of us. Universities and alliances continue to lead the way. Design programs that push boundaries, connect disciplines and cultures, and reflect the excellence and diversity of Europe's academic community. National ministries and quality assurance agencies, you need to help us turn this vision into reality by fully integrating joint study programs into national systems. And to employers and social partners, please join us in shaping the future of European graduates. Build partnerships with universities, help design joint study programs, and give students opportunities to gain real experience and future-proof skills. A policy lab has already started work to make the joint European degree label a reality. In December, the Commission will launch new funding to help ministries, agencies, and universities prepare for and deliver the joint European degree. And the Florence Pledge will stand as a symbol of our shared ambition to remove barriers, align systems, and open new opportunities for students and universities across Europe. Let us build a joint European degree that gives every student the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to succeed anywhere in Europe.
Thank you very much to the Executive Vice President Minzatu for this encouraging message to make the European degree a reality, not just an educational tool, but as a powerful symbol of European unity. And now on to our host, the European Commission and the European University Institute. We will start with some welcome remarks from the President of the European University Institute, Patricia Nans. Madam President, the floor is yours.
Distinguished colleagues, it's with great pleasure that I welcome you today at the European University Institute and the city of Florence for the first European Degree Forum. Florence has long been a place where knowledge and imagination meet. During the Renaissance, the city gave Europe some of the first universities, academies, and encounters of learning. It was here that ideas about art, science, and human dignity not only were born, but also were shared across regions, languages, and disciplines. It is therefore fitting that we gather here in Florence today to continue this European tradition of exchange and renewal. Before we begin, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the European Commission and in particular DG Education, Youth, Sport and Culture and representative here, Pia Arnsgerde Hansen, for their close collaboration with the UI's Florence School of Transnational Governance, and to our Provost for Education, Josephine van Zeeben, organizing this forum, and for their steadfast commitment to advancing a possible joint European degree initiative. The Commission's vision and partnership have been instrumental in creating the space for this collective reflection and supporting the broader goal of a more connected and competitive European education area. At the heart of the joint European degree label lies a simple but powerful idea that students across Europe should be able to pursue a truly transnational education, one that reflects our shared values and diverse strengths. A possible joint European degree is not just an administrative innovation. It is a statement of what we believe education in Europe can and should be: open, collaborative, and transformative. To make this vision a reality, collaboration among universities is essential. No single institution, however excellent, can respond alone to the challenges we face. Digital transformation, the green transition, and the pressures of global competition for talent and knowledge. Our universities must collaborate to develop curricula that transcend borders, research that incorporates diverse perspectives, and communities of learners who view themselves as Europeans in the fullest sense. At the time, we recognize that cooperation across national systems can still be complex, as different regulations, accreditation procedures, and administrative frameworks sometimes make joint initiatives very demanding. Against this backdrop, the Florence School of Transnational Governance plays a pioneering role. The school embodies the very principles we celebrate today: education that transcends borders and connects knowledge with practice. Through its Master in Transnational Governance, executive training, and its engagement in the European degree label pilot, the school demonstrates how innovative cross-border learning can prepare students, social actors, and policymakers alike to navigate complex European and global challenges. It stands as a living example of how collaboration between universities and public institutions can translate the ideals of European integration into real educational and professional opportunities. Notwithstanding the progress that has been made, this forum is also a reminder that we must continue to invest politically, financially, and intellectually in Europe's higher education system. Other world regions are investing heavily in universities and innovation. To remain competitive, Europe must not only keep pace, but lead by nurturing the next generation of thinkers and doers. This is not simply an economic imperative. It's about ensuring that Europe continues to shape global standards of excellence, democracy, and of social responsibility. Universities are not just engines of innovation. They are cultural institutions at the very heart of the European project. They teach us how to disagree productively and how to live with uncertainty and deal with complexity, and how to turn diversity into strength. In that sense, universities, and especially the UI, are Europe in miniature, like a bonsai Europe. Each campus is a laboratory of integration, a place where citizens learn what it means to belong to something larger than national identities and larger than themselves. The European University Institute was founded precisely on this conviction. Born from the desire of the member states to create a space for advanced research and dialogue on Europe's future, the UI has for 50 years served as a bridge linking national academic traditions and fostering a truly European intellectual community. Today, we are proud to contribute to initiatives like the Joint European Degree Label which extend that spirit of cooperation to the wider higher education landscape. As we begin the forum, let us remind that the work we do here, drafting frameworks, aligning systems, sharing ideas, is not merely technical. It is profoundly political and cultural. It shapes the kind of Europe we will hand over to the next generation, a Europe that learns together, grows together, and stands together. So I thank you all for being here, for your dedication, your expertise, and your belief in what European education can achieve when we act collectively. May the discussions of these days inspire new partnerships, new insights, and renewed commitment to our common purpose. Welcome to Florence, welcome to the UI, and welcome to the future of European higher education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Nance, for your inspiring words and for fostering knowledge, openness, and collaboration in European higher education community. And now it's my great pleasure to invite the European Commission's Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, Pia Harenkilde Hansen, to deliver some welcome remarks on behalf of the European Commission. Director General, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I was so fascinated by listening to Professor Nance that I ended up mixing up my papers there, but I'm just putting them back into order. And it's really a great pleasure. Thank you very much, Gloria, for welcoming me to the stage. Dear President Nance, dear colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, it's also for me really a great pleasure to welcome all of you here today to the very first European Degree Forum in this beautiful city of Florence. And I want to thank our hosts, the European University Institute and its Florence School of Transnational Governance, for indeed staging in this stunning setting our first European Degree Forum. As we heard from Professor Nance, it is indeed not an accident that this forum is organized here together with the EUI. As one of the 7 dedicated Erasmus+ Jean Monnet institutions promoting excellence in EU studies with its innovative educational offering, the EUI offers a blueprint for the transformation of European higher education, embodying excellence, cooperation, and innovation. And we just heard from Executive Vice President Roxana Minsato why the European degree matters so much. Europe's future depends on its ability to allow skills, talent, and innovation to flow freely across our union. And together we must overcome the barriers that limit Europe's potential as a champion of inclusive, sustainable prosperity and a leader in the global race for technology to build a stronger and more competitive Europe. And we've seen during the past months how attractive European universities are to students and researchers from around the world. We've seen it not only in the past months, but in the past years. This year, applications to the European Research Council and the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions hit all-time highs. And students choosing Europe as a studying destination increased markedly also over the past years. Over a 3-year period, we saw an increase of 18%, bringing us closer to the Union of Skills objectives of welcoming 350,000 students from outside Europe by 2030. The importance that Europe and its universities place on values including academic freedom and high-quality inclusive education are a huge draw for talent. And our university's innovative offering allows students and teachers and researchers to benefit from the very best of European higher education. And together we must capitalize on these strengths to translate them into tangible benefits for people, securing the prosperity and high quality of life that Europe is famous for. Our success depends on our ability to transform our higher education system to make it fit for the future. And that is what the European Joint Degree is all about. And today's forum is where vision meets action, where partnerships, policy and our joint commitment come together to take our work to the next level. Across Europe, universities have shown how transformative joint European degrees can be. And the European universities and higher education partnerships create learning and knowledge communities that know no borders. And these partnerships build trust and provide real opportunities to our students, to teachers and to researchers who want to learn, to grow and experience European identity in practice. As you know, setting up these programs is not easy. It takes time, it takes determination and creativity to navigate different rules and conditions. And that's why this forum is so important, putting in place the European degree label. Because the label is our next big step towards a fully integrated European degree. It's a milestone in establishing the EU's fifth freedom, as Enrico Letta calls it, the free flow of skills, knowledge and ideas across our single market. And in the European degree, making a new standard for Europe's universities. And the label will give visibility to joint programs already reflecting the European spirit, offering integrated curricula, mobility and cooperation by design. It will help students and employers to recognize the value of innovative joint programs, and it will give universities a common reference point, an internationally recognized symbol of quality and trust. So, indeed, the label is a starting point. It brings together those who are committed to pioneer a world-leading, future-proof higher education sector that is fit for the future. And the experience we build through this will prepare the ground for qualifications that are truly European by design and recognition. So, indeed, the joint degree label is a European effort, and it requires the backing of universities and higher education alliances, students, teachers, staff, local and national governments. Staff in particular are key. Europe's teachers and educators deliver European degrees in the classroom. To empower them as actors of change, we must strengthen their recognition and career prospects. Just last week, the Eurydice network published a report on academic staff in Europe. We published several things, by the way, last week, also an education and training monitor that has a lot of relevant data for what we are doing here today. It shows clearly that attractive, sustainable academic careers are essential for a resilient, globally competitive higher education sector. And supporting joint programs depends upon Europe's ability to retain and attract not only the best students and researchers, but also, indeed, top quality teachers. At this forum, I invite you all to speak very openly, to challenge assumptions, and to build partnerships to take our community's work forward. There's no time to waste, in my view. In the coming months, we will progress our work to deliver the joint European degree label from mid-2026. A policy lab, as we heard, is already working on it, and together we must make the awarding of the first European degree label a moment to remember. I welcome your ideas as to how your institutions can help achieve this, so that together we can build the momentum we need to take this idea across the line. So during the next 2 days, we will shape what we call at the moment the Florence Pledge, a shared commitment to step up our work to deliver the European degree. So thank you, first of all, from my side, all of you, for being here and for your dedication to this joint ambition. And I count on all of you to make it the success that it deserves to be. But before we begin our discussions, let's take a moment, one more moment, to remind ourselves what the joint European degree is all about, what it means in practice for learners, teachers, businesses, and for our Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director General Arenke de Hansen, for your motivating words and for your commitment to advancing European cooperation in higher education. And now, to set the scene before we move into the discussion, our organizers have prepared a short informational video that provides a clear overview of the European degree label. Can we have the video, please?
Today, thousands of students are studying together in joint programs run by several universities across Europe. They move between countries, share perspectives, and gain the skills to shape Europe's shared future. These programs show what's possible when universities truly work together across borders. But for many, cooperation is still complex. Different national rules, accreditation systems, and qualification frameworks make it hard to design and run joint programs. And what about the students? For them, it's not always clear what kind of diploma they'll finally receive. The EU is seeking to change this, presenting the Joint European Degree label and a Joint European Degree, an acknowledgement of joint study programs that meet common European quality and cooperation standards. It highlights excellence, trust, and partnership across Europe's higher education systems. But how does it work? Universities apply through their quality assurance mechanisms. If their joint program meets shared European criteria, it earns the label. Simple, transparent, trusted. The Joint European Degree label celebrates the universities and students who make Europe's shared education a reality. But the ambition for this initiative extends beyond celebration. It's a vision for learning without borders. This is why the lessons learned from the Joint European Degree label could pave the way for creating a common framework for cooperation, while fully respecting national competences and traditions, and Joint European Degree. Coming mid-2026, the Joint European Degree label. Learn more on the European Education Area website.
Thank you for this wonderfully composed video that reminds us why we are gathered here today to discuss the Joint European Degree label. And now let's hear from member states about their perspective and the path ahead. As many of you are aware, EU member states reached a decision on the Joint European Degree label in May 2025 under the Polish presidency of the Council of the EU. In this spirit, it is very appropriate that our first session and exchange of views among member states will be moderated by Magdalena Maciejewska, the Director of the International Cooperation Department in the Polish Ministry of Science and Higher Education. We will also hear from the representative of two member states, Lavinia Monti, Director of the Office for the Internationalization of Higher Education at the Italian Ministry of University and Research, and Heidi Bausen, Director of the Higher Education and Student Finance Department at the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science in the Netherlands. I invite you to take your seats. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here at the European University Institute again. Thank you, Professor Nance, for the very inspiring speech, and Director General also. This has set the scene for the first session and also for the sessions to come. The purpose of today's session, as it has already been mentioned, is to hear from the member states on the perspective and the route to the two documents that have been adopted in May this year by all the ministers responsible for higher education at the Education Council meeting. And but before we delve into the discussion and the purpose of our today's session, I'm happy that my two colleagues could join me here for exchanging the views, Lavinia and Heidi. And maybe before we delve into the discussion, I will give you the floor to say a few words about yourselves so that our audience knows who they are dealing with. So then we start with Lavinia, maybe a few words about you, and then we will proceed to the discussion about the subject of today's session.
Thank you, Magdalena. Thank you so much. It's for me as well a really pleasure to be here today at the very first European Forum on the European degree. I think this moment is even more meaningful for me because just 2 days ago we held the inaugural meeting of the European Degree Label Committee, the European Label Policy Lab. And I think that we are truly witnessing the birth of something that will reshape the future of our education in Europe. So talking about me, I think it's nice that you ask about that because of course Europe is not made only by institutions, but it's made by people, by personal story. So as I was announced, I'm the director for the internationalization of our education at the Ministry of University and Research in Italy. But before, I spent many years, 15 years, working at the Ministry of Economy and Finance, always dealing with European affairs, international affairs, G7, so basically economic policy. And even before, I was working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Development Cooperation. But mostly, my education was mainly European. And I really can say this sentence that sometimes can seem rhetorical, but it's true that Erasmus really changed my life. I studied, and it changed my life twice because I had this Erasmus scholarship when I was very young, when I was 21 years old in France. And then I started to have several European experience, like the College of Europe, master degree, like several scholarship for studying abroad for thesis, for PhD, for an education that was really European. And that was thanks to the Erasmus and the transformative power of this experience that was recalled so many times today. Then there was another occasion in which Erasmus changed again my life, and it was when I decided to write 2 novels about the Erasmus generation. One is called The Girls with Europe in Their Pocket, and told about the Erasmus generation, and the other one is about uncertainty is more beauty, and is again about a girl who studied in Europe and had an internship at the European Commission. So when I was writing these 2 books, I decided to come back to this business, let's say, not only personally but professionally, and I decided to move from Minister of Economy and Finance to Minister of University and Research because I really wanted to come back to this route. I really wanted to help creating the condition for students to have my same experience and even better because things have so changed in these 20 years, and when the Erasmus was born, it was really something new and that we didn't expect to be real. And I think it's the same thing now for European degree. And it is a little bit like for Schengen area, for euro currency. These are reality. These are things that now are very real and are part of our lives. But at that age, that seems like dreams or something very unrealistic. But we can make this vision true. And I think it's the same for European degree.
Thank you very much, Lavinia. Very practical and this is the person who combines economy with higher education. So this is also good because, as we know, our future joint European degree is very important, not only for students per se and for teaching staff, but also for competitiveness and for business in the end. Heidi, what about you?
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to hear, Lavinia, that you're a child of the Erasmus program. I should say that like that. I'm not. I'm Heidi Bout. I'm from the Dutch Ministry of Education, and I'm working at the Dutch Ministry for about 3 years now, and then I have a career of about 20 years, I think, as a civil servant with different ministries in the Dutch government. I studied some year abroad, but that was just abroad in Belgium because I was living at the border of the Netherlands. So for me, that was just a 30 kilometers trip. But then again, that was also the feeling of being a European because we cross the border there very often. Nice to hear also that we to have the opportunity to share some views here. And thanks also, Pia, for the invitation to challenge maybe also and to speak freely about a European degree label. I think it's a nice opportunity. We have the discussions also in the DG Higher Education, and I think it's good because it's a great step to do, and we have to think about it clearly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that's very vital remark that we have to work together at all times. Just to finish the little tour de table, I have also been introduced. My name is Magdalena Maciejewska. I'm the director of the International Cooperation Department at the Polish Ministry of Science and Higher Education. And most of my professional career has been connected with the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, and but before I wasn't really involved in higher education per se, but more in science. So for me, it is also very important that the discussions that we have and the future of higher education can and will impact especially the progress, the scientific research results, and the quality of academic and research staff that will be produced, let's say, by the European higher education and scientific institutions. So yes, I have been with the ministry now for almost 25 years with a short break. My background also includes a short period of work at the Patent Office of the Republic of Poland, and also the Ministry of Agriculture, where I was responsible for managing the research institutes that are subordinate to the Minister of Agriculture. But today I am here with my colleagues, and after this short introduction, let's go to business and talk about our views, the member states' views on the road to adopting and negotiating the documents and what lies ahead in the context of the future developments of the joint European degree label and possibly a joint European degree. I will give myself the liberty to start by saying that, as we all know, it's been almost more than 6 months since the Council unanimously adopted the two documents, the resolution on the European degree label and the future joint European degree, and also the recommendation on quality assurance in higher education. And the road to that has been a little rocky, but as the Polish presidency in the Council of the European Union, we were striving to lead the discussions in the sense of understanding, cooperation, and inclusion of all interested parties.
I think the negotiations were the most complex yet, and we were one of the most. They were one of the most constructive processes, despite the rockiness. And we held dozens of formal and informal meetings. We had experts meeting. We had meetings with member states representatives. We had meetings with representatives of the academic community to to build a shared vision of what the European degree should really be. And we have been drinking in from the experience gained from the participation of our universities in the European University Alliances. And just as the French presidency ensured the geographical balance and the participation of institutions from all member states, we wanted the joint European degree to symbolize not only excellence, but also European unity, which stands in ground of the European integration process. And today, I'm sure I'm not mistaken, I see a few representatives of the Polish universities here. Our Polish universities are ready. Most of them are really ready to implement the joint European degree right now. They actually have been ready even before we even started the negotiations, only because they were members of the European University Alliances, and those universities pretty much blamed us for not being ambitious enough, that we should more focus on who is ready and who is not. But our aim was to include all member states in the discussion and have everyone on board, which I think we succeeded. The central question that we asked ourselves was, what truly makes a degree European? Is it the compliance with the European criteria, or the mutual recognition of degrees across all member states of the European Union? And I would like to hear your point of view on how you perceive the process of negotiations, where we are now, and how should we proceed further. And Heidi, please.
Thank you, Magdalena, and I recognize what you said about our higher education institutes are ready for it. In Holland, it's the same. Maybe it's not weird that we had such a discussion among the member states, because our educational systems differ a lot around Europe. So that's the background, and where we are in the development of internationalization in our country and in our institutions makes also that we differ, I think, in what we see the road ahead. Maybe to set some of the scene in the Netherlands, we have been always very supportive of internationalization. We are an open country, have an open economy, and we have an open educational system. Even that open, because it's that open because we have a lot of courses in English, even in the research universities as well as the universities of applied sciences. And I told the numbers, I think, before, but for every Dutch student that goes abroad, 6 students from abroad come to the Netherlands. So we have a bit imbalanced mobility, as we say it. But it's also the result, I think, of a successful strategy that was done by the universities of the higher education institutes and the government together of the past decade, I think. But since, I think, it was around 2018, somewhere the feeling of this is not in balance anymore came, and then different governments introduced different kinds of legislation to do something about it. And it's against that background that we received the proposal of the the European degree label. And as I said, our higher education institutes are already more than that. They really looking forward to making the cooperation easier, because there are, if you want to have a joint degree or a joint program, it's difficult. There is red tape, as we called it several times, everywhere. And that's not easing the cooperation. But then again, our cabinet wants balanced mobility, and our parliament was even very critical to the proposal. So we have also to balance between those interests. And in a nutshell, our perspective about a European degree label is we see perspective, but we are also cautious about some things. And the potential, I think, it's what all of you said already. It's to strengthen and make it easier to cooperate, to overcome the differences in our educational systems, and to really become a European higher education system in Europe, to lower the administrative barriers. And for all us, it's also important to encourage the balanced mobility of students and boost the Bologna tools, because also that is very important. And that's why I'm very glad to share also some of the considerations and maybe the things why we're cautious about this. We have some different starting points in Europe, I think, in the implementation of the Bologna tools. And when we all were having implemented it fully, and also the European standard and guidelines, but also the European approach on joint programs, maybe it should be even, it should already be possible to have joint programs and a European joint program. But not everybody has the same level of implementation. And then again, we also have some national requirements on the side of that. We also do have that in the Netherlands. So we all have to think about that also, because are we willing to take a step back on that? Because otherwise also, when we have a European degree label, or even in the future a European degree, the implementation on a national level will be crucial if you are not willing to remove your own red tape. For example, we have new legislation on the language of educational programs, and we made an exemption for joint programs that are done with universities from the member states, so they don't have to pass an extra test. So that's a way we don't introduce extra red tape on the part of the Netherlands. That's the first thing, the implementation of the Bologna tool. And then the other thing that was really important for the Netherlands was that I think we differ around Europe in the way we have influence from the governments on the curricula. And we don't want to have any interference from a government body on the curricula or on the way the higher education institutes organize their education. Academic freedom and autonomy of the higher education institutes is very important for us in the Netherlands. So various criteria are a bit on the edge of what should be could be seen as interference with academic freedom. And then the third thing, for us, it's important to have that it be inclusive, so that the label is for all institutions and for all students available, and not only for the institutes that participate in an alliance, because there are a lot of institutes that want to participate in an alliance but haven't got the opportunity already. And then another thing I told about the Bologna process, for us it's important that it won't be a parallel process to the Bologna, because otherwise I think we have the risk of devaluation of the quality assurance we have and the existing degrees we already have. And that's, I think that would be, that can't be the case. And maybe the last thing, we have a lot of criteria we want to combine with the label. And every criteria you add, it's an extra level of administrative burden. So we also have to think about that because we want to lessen the administrative burden, and a lot of criteria is then. To conclude, I think we have found a step-by-step approach that will give us the time to have the discussions about this amongst the member states. And I was thinking in the planning, it's in 2029 we have the discussion about a real European degree. I think we have the Dutch presidency then, so I think it's a beautiful way ahead to work on and to have a good presidency then on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Yes, that would be a very nice conclusion of the process, starting with the Polish presidency and finishing with the Netherlands presidency. Yes, you have touched upon a few very important issues, which and some of the formulations and some of the, let's say, keywords that were appearing very often during the process of negotiations. So balance, inclusion, academic freedom, and the independence of academic sector, the difference between the requirements from those universities that already are ready to implement the European degree fully, and all the rest of the universities that are not there yet. So we, as the representatives of governments, we have to ensure that everyone can join this initiative if they want to, because as we all know, and this was also our aim, it is a voluntary initiative. Lavinia, how is it in Italy? How do you perceive the value of the joint European degree in your legal system and in your higher education system?
Thank you. We are, as you know, because we are working so much together for negotiating the resolution and the recommendation that you were mentioning before, you know that Italy is really supporting this project, this vision at all levels. And of course, we know that there are difficulties. Of course, we have so much work to do, but it's normal when we want to change things. So we are working a lot on that. Our system is well in track. I think we should mention an important aspect that maybe we didn't mention so far. This is the European University Alliance initiative, which really paved the way for the European degree and the European label. And in that respect, our ministry, our government has really supported from its very beginning this initiative, not financially with 1 million euros, but we are planning to do better and better with the future budget law, but especially working with these alliances. Just to have an idea, we have 46 institutions which are part of one alliance. This means that half of the university system, of the Italian university system, is anyway involved in at least one alliance, which means a lot. Alliances are really the factory in a way of this process, not only because they're working a lot on double and joint degree, but because they involve so many different actors, not only academic, of course, but sometimes even private sector, local actors, in this European international campus, which prepare, the way for this process. Of course, there is a work to do, especially when it comes to define administrative, juridical aspect, and I'm agree with my colleague from Netherlands that criteria is a tricky point. These days, we were talking about that in the policy lab, and of course there are different vision, different opinion on what should define the criteria for allowing the label, and of course it will be even more tough for when it comes to the degree. But we need to define this framework in an inclusive way. It's important the relationship with our university. We have a dialogue on that, especially through the Conference of Italian Rectors, which of course it's working with us on this process. And at the same time, I think that the inclusion that you were mentioning is important, because I had the impression, especially in the group where we participate all together, the framework, the strategic framework, higher education working group managed by the European Commission with Susan. We work a lot on that. And I had the impression that for some member states there is maybe a fear that we can have two different levels of university. The one who are maybe more ready to this new process, and the one that still have to maybe define and to be more in the process. But this will not be the case, because I mean, I think the two documents, the resolution and the recommendation, are very clear on that should be an inclusive process, that there will not be university, university or big university. It will be an inclusive process. And another important aspect of this, the European degree, that for us is very important when it comes to internationalization, is that we consider it an instrument to reinforce our identity, our higher education identity towards extra Europe students, toward extra Europe academia. In that way, we can really be more attractive for students coming from abroad. In that sense, I think it's important to mention what we are doing with our consortium, Food for Alliances, that is looking at the future of these important actors, especially when it comes to the international dimension, because of course, the European degree will be an impressive instrument for the European student when they are going to study in another country, because they can be more secure, more confident that their title will be recognized, because it will be already a title. But we should not underestimate the power of the European degree when it's seen from abroad, because from students coming from abroad, the idea to have a title that is European will be very attractive and will reinforce our identity. That's why in our strategy for internationalization, we have mentioned this process toward the label and the degree, because we think it will be an asset for internationalize our higher education system.
Thank you very much, Lavinia. So what I understand, you are already encompassing the degree as an idea in your internal documents, so that it can actually be implemented on the national level. In the case of Poland, we already have a few barriers identified. Of course, given the fact that the position, and now I can say it since we are no longer the presidency in the Council of the European Union, the position of the Polish government and the Polish academic community in the, let's say, position of the government was always very positive. We are, of course, had a few reservations on a few things that still need to be developed, and they are being developed also in the policy lab. But one of the obstacles or the barriers that we identified were the legal obstacles, and we are very much looking forward to the developments of the policy lab, because we already have a few of the legal changes prepared to possibly be implemented in the legal system, so that maybe not The joint European degree label will be mentioned from the name, but we want to create the conditions for an easier creation of joint programs and tackling some obstacles regarding more, let's say, structural and formal requirements for, let's say, diplomas that have to be issued in the Polish language. So we are working on that. I'm curious, are there any obstacles that you see from your national perspective that you already have identified, maybe have ideas how to tackle them? And I'm of course not talking about you know, the sometimes different views between the government and the academic community, and the let's say smaller impact or very small impact of the national authorities on the curricula. So what are your ideas on that, and what have you discovered so far?
As I was mentioning before, of course, all what regards administrative burden is something we fear in Italy, but I think everywhere. But in Italy, administrative burden is always seen as a burden, as an obstacle, but it's normal, it's physiological. As my Dutch colleague was saying, we have really to cut the red tape. So we should, I mean, maybe think that this is an opportunity to make it simple and not to make it more complicated, because in that moment when it comes to designing joint degree, double degree, I know that it's a lot of work. Then the results are stunning, but it deserves a lot of work. It implies a lot of work, and the results are clear. We have in the last 4 years we have an increase of almost 30% of joint degree, double degree, both at bachelor level, both at master level and PhD. So it's really an important result. But I know from when I speak with professor, when I speak with university, I know that it's a huge work. So the fear now is that coming to the European label before and then European degree will involve the same amount of work before and then even while, I mean, in the process of defining this curricula and these paths. But I think we can find a way to avoid that, especially in the work we are doing as member states. I think this is our role to make things simple for university and especially for students, because I mean we are doing everything we are doing is for students, is to make them possible to study all over Europe or coming even outside Europe to study in Europe and have one single title and can study in different countries. We have the occasion to do it at the Policy Lab. We have the possibility to do it in our working group, the Strategic Framework Working Group. Of course, in the end, finally, it will be passing by the Education Committee when we have the possibility to work with our national mission in Brussels. So, of course, it should be a teamwork. Listening to, I think the key is listening to people who work on that. So, professors, rectors, students, and find where we can cut some part of the process which is redundant, which is a burden for the actors involved. Then when it comes to criteria, when it comes to values, because I know that, for example, at the Policy Lab there have been a very intense discussion on the values, for example. But I think this is, again, an opportunity to define better and to confirm our identity, our European values, once again, in the sector of the higher education, because we should consider another occasion, the European degree, for a cultural diplomacy in a world where we have all these challenges, in a world where we are facing war and tension, international tension. The fact that we can have another time the confirmation that Europe can bring comprehension, cooperation, it's a golden opportunity for us. So I think we have the instrument because we have all these group, all this committee, all these place where to negotiate and discuss each other. Of course, there will be different visions. We know that there are, but in the end, if we find a compromise that balance inclusion, values, and as well feasibility and user-friendly, let's say, for this European degree, I think there will be an important milestone. Of course, you have to start with the European label, and we are doing it on time, so I'm confident on that.
Thank you for those remarks, Lavinia. Yes, I think you touched upon a few very important points. Teamwork is the key, and step-by-step approach is the way to deal with the process. And Heidi, how about the Netherlands?
Maybe, yeah, it works again. Maybe I'll introduce another angle to this, because there is a very important thing when we introduce a label, or even later on if we introduce a degree, that the labor market should recognize it. And in Holland we introduced the associate degree, this short circle of 2 years. We have now master degrees in the universities of applied sciences. And what we see is that even after years, it's very difficult for the labor market to find those degrees and know that those degrees are there. And the associate degree, I think it's maybe about 10 years that it exists, and the University of Applied Science master degrees maybe a bit shorter in the whole, but the labor market doesn't find it. So I think we have also to do something in designing it and taking the labor market with it, and not only in words, but that they fully see the potential of the degree, because otherwise you can have a degree, but it's a European degree label, but it won't be something special or something added, what we now thinking about that it should be, but then it won't be found that way by the labor market. So I think that's also an important thing to look to and look into, and also make sure that the labor market is and the employers are also on this track. As for the legislation, you said it also, we have to look into that all in our own member states. We already have implemented fully the possibility of joint programs in our legislation, so that won't be a big problem, I think, but maybe we come to some things along the way. And maybe some other thing, Lavinia, you said it's a really important opportunity in this time when there are wars, and when it's very important that we at a European continent work together. That's really a thing that this should be the opportunity to not compete with each other for talent, but build on the talent. And then it's interesting how we can make a connection between introducing a European degree label and the cooperation that comes with it, because that's the important thing, I think, on that. And the chances of that label for the European priorities, as we speak about strategic autonomy and the competitiveness of Europe. So I think that will also, it can be a boost, because the cooperation can make that we can compete with the rest of the world and not compete within Europe. But maybe there are also some other things necessary for that. I mentioned in another setting, I mentioned the example of the Netherlands, where we have introduced the cooperation to get more talent to an economic strategic sector in the Netherlands, the semicon sector. the ASML and all the connected businesses to that. In total, we want 10,000 more employees in that sector. So that's a lot of talent we need. So there is a program of, I think, about 1 billion euros in total. But the educational side is about 200 million. And we invited 4 regional areas and the higher education institutes in that areas to come with plans how to attract more talent and how to educate more talent in the semicon and the beta and the technical side and the technical programs. And that's maybe also a thing how can we get the cooperation we build upon with those joint programs and the joint European degree, how can we also let them boost some strategic sectors? I think it's also an interesting, but then again, we want inclusion for the label, and that's another thing, I think, to think about how we can raise talent for the strategic autonomy. I think we have to stop. I see some signs.
Yes. Let me just conclude and try to summarize this discussion in a very quick words. I think we all agree that it has been agreed in May already that we are proceeding towards the joint European degree label and possibly the joint European degree in the near future. And what's important, what I've put down in my notes, is that we will have to continue to work in a team, not only inside the countries, so including all the relevant actors, but also between the member states, so that we go in the same direction, maybe in a little different pace, but still in the same direction. We are looking at inclusion, but inclusion meaning including all the relevant actors, so not only academia, but we also have to have in mind that we are producing the students and the qualifications for the labor market. And the labor market, the industry has to be involved in the process as well. And mobility, of course, is the core of internationalization, but quality assurance must be also in the center of our interest. And we should not compete for talent, but be the source of talent for abroad and for mutual, let's say, labor and academic markets. Thank you very much, Heidi. Thank you very much, Lavinia. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much again for organizing this forum and this panel. And I'm looking forward to further discussions. Thank you.
Very much to our speakers, Lavinia Monti and Heidi Bausen, for this rich exchange, and to Director Maciejewska for so expertly moderating the session. It's been extremely valuable to hear from member states about their experiences and visions, and now we want to hear from students of such joint programs. Today we are honored to have one of those students with us, so it's my great pleasure to introduce Sara Bayens from the European Chamber Music Master at the Intune Alliance, who will share a short performance and a testimonial. Sara, please come to the stage. Let's give her a warm welcome. Thank you so much for this wonderful performance. I'm certain the audience enjoyed it as much as I did. And on top of being an outstanding performer, you are also a student of a joint program. And the next item on our agenda is focused on showcasing the success of joint programs. So I would like to ask you, what is, in your opinion, the main benefit of joint program for a student such as yourself?
Let me maybe start by giving you some background on the studies that I'm doing. So I'm part of a chamber music group. In my case, it's a piano trio, so piano, cello, and violin. And we are based in Belgium, and when we decided we would like to become a professional group, we decided to apply for the chamber music master, European chamber music master. And for this, this means for us exactly it's a program of 2 years, so 4 semesters, and our home institution is the Royal Conservatory of The Hague, and we move around per semester. So the first semester we did in The Hague, the second semester we went to Vienna for a semester, now currently is our 3rd semester, we are studying in Paris, and the last semester we will go back to The Hague. And all of this is part of an integrated curriculum, which is absolutely fantastic. And on top of that, they also organize sessions. And with sessions, I mean intense weeks throughout the year, all over Europe, with institutions that are part of the Alliance, where it's basically a whole week of intense masterclasses with professors from all over Europe coming there that week. And we spent the whole week together having multiple lessons every day. And it's incredibly inspiring and enriching. So to come back to your question, I think it's impossible to answer this question because there is not one main benefit. There are so many. And as you might hear from the enthusiasm in my voice, it was already a very enriching experience, and we still have almost a whole year left. So not only do we travel Europe and open our minds to different cultures, but we also meet professionals, professors that are really specialized in certain repertoires. And for example, in Vienna, we worked a lot on Mozart and Beethoven and Haydn. And now that we're in Paris, we are working on French repertoire like Maurice Ravel. And so it's incredibly inspiring. And on top of that, we also work together with other ensembles in the sense that we meet them, we see how they work, we see which professors they had, which experiences they had. And I heard the word teamwork before, and I think it's a beautiful way of saying that there is no competitive atmosphere whatsoever. It's really, we are all in this together and we're riding the same wave, and it's really nice. And the last thing I would like to add is that it's not an educational degree that is very only educational. It's really preparing us for professional life. So we also get a lot of lectures, how to manage the music industry and how it works, and how nowadays we should deal with it to get concerts and you know, to produce ourselves and to do what we love to do, but we also still need to make a living. And they really prepare us for this, and that's also one of the big benefits. So to give an example, with my group, we played last month our debut concert at the Concertgebouw Amsterdam, which for classical musicians is, I think, quite a big deal. And this was an opportunity thanks to the European Chamber Music Academy. So I'm extremely grateful, and I'm sure it will shape my career. It's already doing so.
What a fantastic experience, Sara. Thank you for your contribution and for the strong European spirit that comes from growing and learning across Europe. So best of luck for your future. Thank you again. Talented students, such as Sara, sit at the center of our discussion. However, students alone cannot make a joint program. Such a task requires a team effort. Higher education institutions, professors, researchers, as well as many of the European universities' alliances already bringing this vision to life. We are honored to have with us some of those stakeholders today. They will share the success achieved so far as well as their insights into the process of setting and delivering a joint program. It's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the moderator of this panel, Mirko Varano, Vice Rector for International Affairs at Tec Monterrey and Chair of the European Association for International Education Thematic Community on Partnership. Under his moderation, welcome. Under his moderation, we'll hear from Beatrix Bus, Vice Rector for Teaching and Studies of the University of Cologne, part of the European University for Wellbeing Alliance, and Chair of the 4EU for All General Forum. Welcome. And Jelena Zankic, Professor at the Robert Schuman Center for Advanced Studies here at the European University Institute. Please give them a warm welcome.
Thank you and good morning. Welcome to the second plenary panel of the day. And this will be about showcasing success from the point of view of the stakeholders. We have heard about the point of view of the member states, and now we will move more to the perspective of the actors in this, main actors in this new initiative. My colleagues and co-speakers will present themselves briefly in a few moments, but just to let you know about the objective of this session, we want to showcase the views on joint programs from experienced stakeholders, provide lessons for the joint European degree label and possible joint European degree. The point we want to make is that the joint European degree label builds on solid achievements and on models that are already working and providing impact on students and institutions and employers. And the other point we want to make is that the joint European degree, one of the roles, possible roles of the joint European degree label is to mainstream these positive impacts that we are already seeing and have been seeing for the past years. The speakers will take different angles. I think that Beatrice will look at it more from the European alliances as laboratories for the joint European degree, but also cover the quality assurance aspects of joint programs and make links between research and higher education in the frame of joint programs, while Jelena will look more into the academic research perspective, I understand, and she will address specific challenges around the format of the joint programs. So this is not a technical workshop. We will keep it concise. We will try to keep it positive, since the last thing we need is yet another session where we tell each other how miserable we are and how difficult all this is. And we don't want to neglect the problems, but we want to share some success stories and some positive insight and solutions, hopefully. So before I switch to my role of moderator, I will offer my unsolicited opinion about this and my own personal success story, since we decided to open on a positive note. My colleagues will tell about their positive point of view or success stories or a general statement on the joint European degree. But I just remembered in the morning that in, I think it was 2002, and the assistant of the rector in one of my previous lives called me desperate because there was a lady outside of the room of the office of the rector who wanted to talk about the evolution of double degrees into joint programs. And the rector freaked out. He didn't know what to do. So I went upstairs, and this lady was Viviane Reding, at the time Commissioner for Education. They had no clue. We went to the meeting. She explained the idea. She explained that it was the time to move from double degrees to joint programs. She explained the concept. It was not received very well. She was dismissed, not very kindly. It was a mix of academic chauvinism and resistance to change. So they said, our programs are our programs. We are not offering them together with anybody. And I spent the following few months trying to convince them that this was going to happen, that this was already in the communiqué of the Bologna ministers, A few weeks later, the first call for the Erasmus Mundus program was published, so then we realized what it was about. Okay, there's no success story until here, but the success story is that I worked hard for a few months to convince everybody that we should do that there was no way back. We managed to enter one of the first consortia, and finally we were involved in one of the very first pilots for Erasmus Mundus in 2003. So this reminds me a lot to what is happening today, so I think that we should embrace change and be more positive and see more the opportunities that this can bring about rather than the difficulties that it might generate. So this being said, I think that I will pass the microphone to my colleagues for their own statement or success story, and I think we can start with Jelena, probably.
So thank you so much, Mirko, and thanks for sharing your wonderful story. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and share some of my experience. One point that I actually would like to cover in my short intervention, especially the first one today, is also the importance of joint programs for creating a common European identity and for underpinning the European project overall. Now, to be honest, at the EUI Civica Alliance, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Civica Alliance, it's a university alliance uniting 10 leading European higher education and research institutions in social sciences and humanities, business management, and public policy, has only recently become part of my academic portfolio. So there, I think I'm still in the process of learning. But I think my own personal experience of having attended a joint program actually made a massive difference in my own life. And what I would like to see as one of the results of the Florence Pledge is the possibility for other people to have this transformative experience across Europe. Now, my own experience dates from a long time ago, and it's a regional master's, a European regional master's in democracy and human rights that I've completed as a degree between the University of Sarajevo and the University of Bologna. Now, this degree has been an important formative experience. It was an experience that made me learn about how educational system transforms in a post-war country. The master's degree was established shortly after the war in Bosnia, and it provided opportunities for students from Western Europe to experience the Eastern European educational context, but also to students from the region that had been affected heavily by wars, by transition that wasn't that easy, to essentially have a taste of what educational systems might look in the future. And I think 20 years forward, some of it has come also into being. Now, these joint programs essentially help people to experience different cultures, gain different academic experiences, look into understandings of diversity across different contexts, create and establish their own networks. And I think establishing networks as persons and professionals are something that becomes incredibly important in our lives as we go along. I think many of you will have had the experience of staying in touch with the colleagues that you have met at universities as professionals as well. And this is something that these programs can facilitate to a large degree. Now, my personal favorite value added of these programs is the personal resilience and competitiveness that they create for ourselves. Attending a joint degree, experiencing different cultures, learning in different educational systems makes an individual more resilient, makes them more prepared for what comes forward. So I think that this is incredibly important in the context of East Central Europe, also in the countries that are en route to becoming member states of the European Union, where educational systems have been going through an important transformation over the past 30 years. Now, also for us sitting here, I think it's important, and we've heard it in the speeches from this morning, to enhance the flow of ideas, to strengthen European competitiveness, to focus on the fifth freedom of the free exchange of ideas, because this is how we can create and should create a joint identity, a joint program, and transform the lives of millions of young Europeans to take up the future of higher education and research in Europe. And I'll leave it at this here and happy to continue.
Thank you. And now we can listen to Beatrice.
Is it on?
Yes.
Oh, it's on. Yes, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak here for and about this very important course, to give it a boost again, because I think that's what we currently need as well. We need to make sure that this European degree label now is really implemented. And as so-called Chief Development Officer of the European University for Wellbeing, and also the spokesperson for 4U for All, which is the group of and the community of practice of all the alliances. It's really an honor, and I've got a number of stories to tell. I'm also a linguist, so you have to stop me if I, get on and on and on, which I won't, of course. So the first thing is, within our alliance, we have got a number of students who are very active, and student engagement for us is so important. One story I'd like to tell, which relates to the opportunities we provide with regard to the smaller learning opportunities, but also the courses we are going to establish, is that a law student from our university told me that now with Uni Wellbeing present, he really finds the purpose of what he'd like to do. Now, I was very proud of this, because I thought, well, this is not something I could put into the report. I have to write very soon, because there we probably deliver figures, but quality counts and quality narrative count as well. Secondly, I like to mention that we are currently in the process of setting up a Master in Peace, Justice, and Well-being. So a master that is probably slightly disruptive in the way we combine these three big topics: peace, justice, and then well-being, together with our partners, Florence, the University of Florence, Murcia, Cologne, and Linnaeus. And we also go global now, because we cooperate with Teachers College at Columbia University in New York. So for us, this is the next step, and also with the UN. So we thought this is a success. Another course and another joint, then also hopefully European degree label will award, is a professional health master. So a different type of master, where we have managed through the work of the people and the scientists in the medical sciences to create a professional master for those who are already in their profession, to get a different view on patients' well-being. That is a holistic view and not just looking at one organ. And I had the honor of attending one faculty meeting, so to get really down to earth of what that means, one faculty meeting to push this through finally, that we're going to have this study program. And I won't forget this was 2 weeks ago, because we got the blessing from the medical sciences to do this, and also the blessing in a way for what European universities are doing. And these are my 3 little success stories to tell you what's currently going on, what kind of transformation we are creating in this world that is characterized by seismic shifts, as we know. And I think as European University Alliances, we play a crucial role here in pushing this transformation, and also in asking this question, and here I follow UniWell's mission again: what is the role of universities here? What is at stake right now? How do we want to live in the future, and how do we include the next generation? And I'm also, of course, representing the European Universities Alliances. And I would like to stress that because we are marked by deep and long-term cooperation, which is the focus of a paper we've just been sending to various people to make our case and to say, well, invest in us, and we are very important for this transformation and to co-create together Europe's future, that this is the deep cooperation that also the students and everybody else feels. Just some figures I'd like to mention to you. European University Alliances so far have created 306 joint study programs and 104 degree programs, 828 micro-credentials on socially relevant topics and those relevant to the labor markets, which means that these can already be used by all of our students then to really prepare for their work, but also for their lives. Because let's not forget this, after all, if you are in a study program, you also create a life for somebody. I think that's very important. And we are already also transforming the European higher education area. I'd like to stress that through the European University Alliances, we have actively supported the development of the European degree label, and you've just mentioned this, through, for example, participating in the Erasmus pilot projects, for example, to push further policy and legal reforms at our individual member states. And I can say that even in Germany, things are moving on and we're pushing this further. Also quality assurance, branding, visibility. We have pushed this through various stakeholder groups and also topical groups we have engaged. But let's also zoom in a bit further. Why is this additional label an additional asset for everybody who would like to be in this world of the European Union and also push further what is at stake right now? I think it is a very good additional pathway, and I ask our students why it's so important. And here are some of the aspects they mentioned. It's the international environment, it's the interculturality, it's the professional skills for the future that are developed, it's building more attractive working environments, it's horizon widening, and they also say, the students, unis are becoming more diverse, open and inclusive, and this strengthens our European identity. And it also strengthens our visibility. And we have heard from Pia how important and how attractive our different European programs are. And I've mentioned that last week at the European Skills Summit. I think what we're doing with those European degree labels is we bring a new form of hospitality to Europe. And a cook, Will Guidera, calls this unreasonable hospitality. He says we create moments of deeply memorable hospitality that surprise and delight people going beyond the norm. And I think this is what we are doing with our criteria here. Let me look at some of the criteria very briefly. Let's not limit the freedom of science and let everything we will be doing be science-led, which means that even in the policy labs, our researchers, our scientists need to play a crucial role. So for the Florence Pledge, what I would like to stress is that on the criterion of transnational program organization, I know there are huge issues on accreditation still. 2 recommendations. Can we please think more in terms of quality culture rather than just in terms of this process that is needed? And also, can we think about again, if we have 5 countries involved, perhaps it's enough if 1 country uses their system to then accredit, or even 1 university, which is the case for Germany, for example. I did a whole system of accreditation for my university. On the learning experience criterion, I would even say can we, in addition to student-centered learning, add research-basedness, please, and trustworthy human AI-centered features so that the AI part and the data science part is added as well. Also, with regard to what is mentioned on labor market needs, perhaps we can rephrase it to tomorrow mind skills, because that might also scare less some of our scientists saying, if you say what we have to do is labor market needs, this might attack our freedom of science. I'm just saying this as well. On mobility, we need a broad concept of mobility. And flexibility, I like that a lot. Shout out to everybody who developed this. I think this will help us to be able to use all forms of teaching, be they hybrid, be they online, be they in physical presence. This is what we need right now. I would also like to suggest that perhaps we also include the smaller learning experiences, as well, that could also receive this European degree label here. And of course, on the democratic values that are mentioned, very important, I like to say that research and science-based competencies are democratic in themselves. If you think in terms of, how we level arguments, how we try to listen to everybody, how we access and exercise fair data. So what we need now is also resources, of course, and my plea would be that with all we do, again, we affect people's lives. And let's not forget, education is currently totally revamped. Totally. So let's also think even one step further to see for how long still will degree programs, in the way we're currently having them, be the way of how we teach and learn. So we probably need both, the degree programs, the smaller parts, the flexibility as well. And I think that we need those stories right now, and this is what Europe means as well, and this is what the students have been telling me. So with this deep cooperation, we are on a path of what I would call unreasonable hospitality, and the European degree label needs to be realized. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We want to leave some space for some room for questions later on. So I have one more question. You can start thinking about your own questions. If you can answer in a concise way to this question of mine, which is that joint programs are often seen as complex to set up, to develop and to manage. Which are the main difficulties you have personally encountered, and how have you managed, most important, to overcome them? What lessons did you learn? And let us know if you have identified anything that could be replicable by others and possibly scalable at European level in 2 minutes.
Okay, that's going to be tough. I think that this is an important conversation that we need to have here, because strengthening scientific collaboration, as Beatrix has already mentioned, is key to reinforcing democracies, reinforcing our societies and making them more resilient and more competitive. Now, DEUI is a part of the conversations on joint degrees, not the least through this very forum, but also through its engagement with the Civica Alliance. And I think the first step there, the step that we are also taking here today, that we have taken within Civica, is to open up a conversation about the meaning of such degrees and the practicalities that come along with it. Now, within Civica, we've looked at the possibilities and actually the practicalities related to setting up a joint degree across the different institutions. Now, this constituted in itself a mapping exercise, and mapping what possibilities exist across countries and across institutions is incredibly important, because it allows us to understand both the opportunities that we have to set up such degrees, but also the challenges that we will have in front of us in this in this context. Now, based on this, we are planning to have different pilot initiatives. So we are planning the next steps in view of this mapping exercise. There are already some hints of the joint activities within Civica, including an online course catalog. We also have the multi-campus courses, which I think are in this domain really important achievements. Now, as I hopefully have another 45 seconds, I briefly just wanted to touch upon the 3 key lessons that we need to have in mind when speaking about joint degrees. One is that there needs to be a strategic communication about the value added of these programs for individuals, for societies, and for markets. There also needs to be a broader thinking about what these degrees mean for the context of EU integration, and think about the achievements in these domains, not only about challenges. I think open conversations like the ones that we are having today are incredibly important. So if I were to send a message to policymakers and universities, it would be to think along and think about success stories. One of those has already been mentioned, the Erasmus Plus program, which has been probably the most transformative experience for over 16 million people across Europe. So think along and think forward. That would be my key message. Thank you.
Beatriz?
I think we did similar things, also the mapping and so on of our research activities. I think my main point would be to overcome challenges is start, as I said, from the scientists doing this. Because we keep saying, we keep separating various roles, the teacher, the educator, the scientist, and so on. In our cases, we have several roles, and one of our duties is to teach. So education and research are our duties. So we have to take the next step, and starting from the research and the incentives, the ideas that the researchers have is the starting point. And that is also to overcome some of the hurdles, first of all, because if the researchers, the scientists don't want to do a next program, then of course it's very difficult, because that's where it's coming from. That's one thing. The other lesson we learned is this to incentivize activities. We did this even through a seed funding program, so to really announce, you know, we'd like to foster innovative educational programs with the possibility of even having the European degree label very soon. So that is actually working. And the third part to overcome this is also that anything that is not related to science is done by those people who are professional in accreditation, in quality assurance, and so on. And what I said before, our starting point in UniWell is to say that we're not just formally thinking about accreditation, but in terms of quality culture. And therefore, there's so much more acceptance of these processes, and in those processes of quality culture, how you can improve your teaching and so on, to also incentivize new formats. This is how we have tried to overcome this. But I think we also have to be very honest. Many of the programs we have in mind are interdisciplinary programs, and interdisciplinarity takes time to find a common language, to find a common course. And I think this is, of course, now this contradiction and the trap we are always in, or it's a chance. You may choose. This is the core of science, that there are contradictions, that, you know, we have to hold them. So we have to be fast, as we've heard, because the labor market needs highly skilled people as well. On the other hand, not everybody is ready to do this, and that's why I think the skilling and training, for me, currently this is very much in AI, has to be done for everybody, which also means that if you want to become professional in various things, hybrid learning, and so on, you need to provide opportunities to practice this and to also learn from each other, to incentivize this so that education is revalued as well, which is very important, and that there is research-based education.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there are some questions already. We have some 15 minutes left. If you have any questions from the audience, you can just raise your hand. There is one in the back. I don't know if there are microphones yet.
Yes. Oh, it's really loud, sorry. Hi, I'm Katarina. I'm originally from Estonia, but representing European Students' Union. And thank you for your valuable discussion so far. What we see from the student side is actually the students want a degree, whatever it's called, that is automatically recognized, has learning outcomes that match with their needs, etc., etc. We have discussed a lot about what are the general benefits of the internationalization, but I would like to hear, first of all, your take on what is the added value for the students actually of this label or the degree if it comes, and also how do we ensure that it's inclusive for all the students? Do we have any support mechanisms in place actually to ensure that it's inclusive enough for all the students? Thank you.
Who wants to start?
Right. Thank you so much. I think it's incredibly important to actually reflect about the students' needs in these contexts. We've talked a lot about the challenges that we encounter across the different systems. We've talked about the opportunities for the markets, but I think what we need to have a conversation about is precisely the issue that you have raised. And I think the student experience, and this is something that I have perhaps tried to highlight throughout my short intervention, the student experience that one can get from these programs is truly transformative. Now, I wish that there were such a degree that would be truly European to draw inspiration from, but this is why we are here today. We are here today to listen also to students like yourself, to listen to your needs and try to understand how we can put this into practice. And I think that this is our key goal with the Florence Pledge. Now, how to ensure that it's truly inclusive? I think that there you have put in front of us an incredibly important and challenging question. What I think that we need to do here is put the best of our efforts in the afternoon sessions in reflecting how to put these degrees into being and how to ensure that they are truly inclusive. So I know that I haven't given you a very precise response, but this is why we are here today, to collectively think and to find solutions to put this into practice in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, on your question of why, or what my take is on why this is so attractive and why I'm also here to boost this now, is it very much goes with you know, the arguments that our students have given me when I ask them. It's because it's just such a totally new opportunity to travel to, let's say, 4 universities, to spend a semester there, as we have just heard from Sarah, to be able to exchange in different languages, to learn the languages of the partnering institutions, for example. And it's also usually the topics, I think, that are so crucial, that will foster and develop in you this tomorrow mindset that Seligman and others have created. So I really do think this is just such a new opportunity for any kind of student. And in addition, you'll get the best of all those worlds, because you get the research from the different areas, you get the various professors in the way, and also other staff, you know, in the way, you know, they do their teaching, which well, to be very honest, I would have loved to have had. I'm in English linguistics. Of course, I had to go abroad, but that was about it in a way. And now there are these amazing programs with an enthusiasm of those who build them that is quite remarkable. On your question of recognition, yes, I agree, there's so much to do still, and we have to convince our researchers as well, listen, not just your own way of teaching is the asset. It's coming from various places where things are very excellent and very good. And on the inclusion aspect you mentioned, we have, for example, also programs for first-generation students. That's one part which we are thinking also of including in those programs. The inclusive part could also be fostered by adding, let's say, or making sure that the diversity of students is taken care of. Let's say if you have interviews, if you to qualify for a certain program, then you do this in a certain way. If you make sure that your approach to diversity is holistic, and that you make sure that you have gender balance and so on, so that also the way you use language is very inclusive as well, and not just, let's say, the formalized rituals that we have sometimes used. So that's some concrete ways of how we want to realize this. And if I may come back also to the one program I mentioned, the professional master in health. Even the topic, the way they approach this now, the holistic approach to patients' well-being is so much more inclusive, because it will also look at, the way, for example, women have to be treated differently when it comes to certain diseases or, developments and so on. So even that approach is new and will be inclusive. So it's coming from the research as well.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the question, which would have been my final question to you. So now I'm in trouble because I ran out of questions, but I can answer to that question myself, and there is another question from the audience, but I think, the idea here is not to homologate joint programs, so that's not what the joint European degree is going to do. And these questions remind me to the questions we got 20 years ago. We already have double degrees, why do we need joint programs? And that's a bit the same. Now the question I keep hearing about the joint European degree is, do we need an extra label? What would be the impact of the joint European degree? First of all, it's difficult to envision the impact of something that doesn't exist yet, but that's something that we will see in the future. But for me, this introduces an element of transparency in joint programs. It's the first time that we have a set of elements that should be included in joint programs. If you have an Erasmus Mundus joint master program, it doesn't say anything about the contents, except that it is organized among at least 3 universities from 3 different countries, and you will visit 2 countries during your studies, but it doesn't say anything. In the future, students choosing joint European degree programs, they will know exactly what the structure and contents of this program will be. Nothing is touching the academic contents, academic quality, but it's a number of elements. Students will know that there will be multilingualism, interdisciplinarity, inclusion, that there will be mandatory physical mobility and so on. So it makes it easier for students to identify what they are actually buying when they buy a joint European degree.
Perhaps I can add one other point on the inclusive part, so you triggered us, thank you very much for that question, is that within our quality assurance system, we always have an audit with students to continuously improve, how we teach and learn which courses we offer. So that's the inclusive part, to get the student's voice, which is also, I know this, very important for European universities alliances in general. And for this one, Master in Peace, Justice and Wellbeing, which is about to come up next year, we have invited a group of diverse students to help us with the curriculum as well. And I think that's one part that's what I meant with quality culture, rather than, you know, talking formalistically about tick, 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 you have fulfilled certain criteria. And can I mention one other point that is crucial for me with regard to accreditation now and with regard to what is at stake if we really want to succeed in realizing this European label. And since we have member states here, and I'm from Germany, so I also include, very much include that part, I think we have to become more flexible here with regard to accreditation and quality assurance, because we have developed the criteria that are very important. And it can't be the case that now, for the case of the University of Cologne, we have our own quality system. It's accredited by the state. What we have to do in addition is pay for now an additional agency to do the accreditation, to fulfill various other criteria. So because this doesn't count at the moment, at the same time, 2 other national agencies need to look at those in Spain and in Sweden. And altogether, this will finally lead to the accreditation of a program of just 4 universities. I think this is too much, and I think all of us have to move a step further there to be able to make this very important European degree label now possible. And this is also where the scientists will say, sorry if I have to do this. This is just too much. And I think we are very good at suggesting solutions. So I think this is it's not finding the topics, it's not doing the research for it, it's not being research-based and so on. I think this is where we have to move on now and really be open to this, so that all the member states, and in my case even federal states as such as well, you know, give us the opportunity and have the trust in us that we are able to do very, very interesting study programs, as we've just heard.
Thank you very much. There are at least 2 questions.
Thank you. My name's Diane Stone. I'm a professor in the School of Transnational Governance here at EUI. I also have an added value question. Most of the discussion so far has focused on what happens inside Europe, between universities in Europe and between the member states. So my question is more about what is the added value of the European degree label for Europe in the world, for universities in their international relations with other countries and also with other regions, such as the AU, for example, or ASEAN. So how does this initiative, how does it help in projecting both individual universities, the European Universities Alliance, the European Commission and member states, as well as Europe as a whole in the world?
Thank you so much, Joanna. I think that this is an incredibly important point, and I think the way I see it is also something that Beatrix has mentioned. These degrees expose individuals to multilingualism, to different cultures. They are able to learn from different professionals about different scientific methods. So educating a generation of Europeans who will be more agile in the contemporary world will essentially boost Europe's role in the international, Europe's role in the world overall. And I think that this is incredibly important if we think about what role should Europe have at the global level in the field of education, how to boost Europe's competitiveness globally. And as I said, the exposure to different cultures, the exposure to different methods, ways of doing things are something that's incredibly valuable for the future of Europe in the global educational context, but even more generally.
Yeah, so from my experience, what I hear at the moment is, of course, which also relates to research, is that in Europe we believe, and we've heard this from all the commissioners and so on, from Pierre and others as well, this is the freedom of science that we practice that is still here, and also this century-long excellence in education in a certain way. So this is something that is now really very attractive to students, probably also the fact that we don't always have tuition fees, and that we are currently building up very, very interesting programs as well, with also a way towards, you know, how we do science and education that is very attractive. I like to mention that because we are developing also cooperations with and in Africa, and I know that many other universities are doing this as well, alliances as well, that the concept, first of all, of the alliance is very attractive. Because it's a network, it's not just multilateral cooperation that is very attractive to be part of. At the same time, it's our way towards being less westernized and getting a different perspective also on Europe, which is very important. And I can very safely say from the US at the moment, because we are cooperating with the Teachers College at Columbia University, so Columbia University in New York, that because of, you know, the current political situation, but also because they see it's so interesting what we are doing here in Europe with the European University Alliances, that this kind of new transatlantic cooperation is very, very attractive. And this has opened doors for Uniwell to the UN in New York as well, to the United Nations. And I do think what we are currently doing with European University Alliances, and I'm not just saying this because I'm an adamant promoter, this way of deep collaboration could be our future to save this world and this planet. And we see that the network as such is very attractive, and therefore there's more movement towards also Europe, and I know this from other initiatives, for example, also with Ivy League universities in the US, the transatlantic global perspective, which has deep historical roots as well, is being reactivated in a science-led way. We are the bridge builders and perhaps also the peace builders through science and education. This is what I hear.
Yes, and about the, can you still hear? About the added value, again, I mentioned already transparency. For me, it's the most obvious one, most obvious characteristic that the joint European degree will have. But we should remember that joint programs are now a very powerful tool for global recruitment. So it's not only for intra-European mobility. And these transparency element will turn joint programs into something more visible globally and more attractive probably. So a student from Pakistan knows nothing about the difference between an engineering degree in France or in Germany. But if they start to learn about the joint European degree that meets minimum requirements, they will understand better what they are buying. So I think we should, and we shouldn't forget that joint European degree will also be open to non-European universities. And one of the criteria will be the acceptance of the respect of the European values, for example. So it shouldn't turn into academic colonialism, but academic diplomacy, yes. I think it could be a good tool for academic diplomacy in this sense.
That way, I think we do it in a different way, don't we? We are not just doing it in a way like them versus us, but we do it for Europe and in a co-creative way, and perhaps also then in a new way, in the European way, which is co-creative, which shows and practices and prepares for deep collaboration, which I think is something so different and yeah, very inherent to science.
I just one thing. I think it's also incredibly important. I come from a country that's a candidate country to join the European Union. And in a way, associating to these programs, being a part of a joint European degree is incredibly important also politically for these countries. So I think that this is also a value added, in a way, giving or exchanging knowledge with countries that essentially strive, aspire to become European Union member states. So it's investing in Europe's future in a way, if you wish.
Thank you. I think Alex had a question. Yes.
Yes, hello, Alexander Shushner from the European Quality Assurance Register. I'm afraid it's going to be one of those comments, not a question, because I just wanted to reflect a little bit on the accreditation issue that was mentioned a little bit earlier. And now, when we talk about the European Degree Initiative in general, I think the goal set will require a great deal of creative thinking and complex problem solving. But luckily, when it comes to accreditation of joint programs, we actually already have a solution for 10 years now. We just haven't implemented it. Now, the European approach for quality assurance of joint programs exists since 2015, yet it is still not systematically available across Europe. And that enables exactly what you have told us about. If there are 4 universities delivering a joint program, we do not need 4 quality assurance agencies from 4 countries. We need 1 agency accrediting the program, the other systems accept it. This, I just wanted to point out, shows how important it is that this initiative is linked to existing tools, including those that are wider than the EU tools. So this comes from the Bologna process and the European higher education area. And I personally am very happy with how the European Degree Initiative, all the policy documents emphasize the importance of European approach in order to make accreditation easier. However, as I was saying, it's very clear we are not there yet. But I would like to make a plea that really we work on it all together to see what are the barriers, why is it not implemented, how do we overcome those barriers. And we will actually, within the scope of Bologna process working groups, we'll be working on it in the next year or 2 years. So I think this is a good moment also for all of us to perhaps get together and pull in the same direction to really make this available across Europe. Because this is one of those tools that requires a critical mass. Because once, vast majority of countries accept it, then it gets, the value of it gets more exponential, I would say.
My comment was directed at the member states.
Do you want to react? It was not really a question, but do you want to react? There's one more question in the audience.
I am Martina from UPM, part of the Studying Council of ELISA Alliance. My question is, as you said, innovative educational paths and interdisciplinarity takes time and the chance to explore future needs. So, which sometimes can feel like we are failing to the actual system. So, which are the messages that you could give to the students that are brave and bold to get involved in this path, for them to not get frustrated and to keep engaged and empowered, which I think is also important, on designing the future that we are trying. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that all the initiatives, if you think about Europe and the history of European integration, have been fought for. So I think my key message to you would be, don't get frustrated, keep going on and keep fighting. If you think about the history of Erasmus and the way it has come into being, it wasn't an easy task and it wasn't an easy path, but it is one of the greatest success stories of EU integration. So just keep pushing forward and fighting for your ideas, because I think that at the end of the day, they will be worth it. I'm not saying that there will not be frustration along the way, there will, but you will see achievements and that they will essentially bring forward the energy that you need to keep going.
I think that in the European University Alliances, there is a huge opportunity for student participation. We even ask for it. We all have it in our governance structures, and this has an impact. I can assure you, in UniWell, no decision is taken without student participation. I asked the students, so how would you reply to the questions I got? And I got a dossier, from them, because they are so eager. And this will now move into this. In addition, one of the ways to deal with that frustration, which I can which I can really understand, and which I sometimes feel as well, because things are not fast enough. That's why I said perhaps, and we do this, and you mentioned your course catalog, we have that as well. We have smaller course catalogs as well, with smaller learning experiences, where you can go, you know, to one of the other partner universities, where you can participate there and experience this in this ecosystem of the Alliance as such. And I think that's the way forward, that fosters exchange. And, you know, I can already experience that we are past the point of any kind of return. This is happening, the train is running, and we need you. I can just say this, we need your voice, and it's being heard. Don't get frustrated, rather talk about the frustration, and then we'll deal with it, please. That's really what we are doing, I think, all of us here who are representing the alliances.
Thank you very much. We run out of time, so it's time to wrap up. Thank you for your very clear, I don't think we need to summarize because you were very clear. I just want to say that a number of us came here directly from the first workshop of the Policy Lab on the Joint European Degree. And I was surprised, no, I shouldn't say surprised, I was pleased by the collaborative and positive attitude we had 2 days ago with a representative of the member states, but I also think it's important to organize this type of events just to show that there is interest from the side of the stakeholders. It's not only an advisory board talking to the member states and the Commission, but there is actually a genuine interest to push this forward, and I think that the work that we will do in the afternoon and tomorrow morning will contribute in a substantial way to the generation of the Joint European Degree label, which will already happen next year. So we have to keep this in mind. It's a point of no return. There will be different speeds, there will be different opinions, but after the recommendation of the Council, this is happening. So I think it's very important for us all to collaborate and come to the best possible solution to push this forward. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the event.
Very much to all our speakers, Beatrix Busse, Jelena Zankic, and to Vice Rector Varano for guiding such an inspiring discussion. It's truly encouraging to see how much progress has already been made, turning ideas into action and collaboration into reality. I would now like to welcome Assessora Laura Sparavigna to the stage to deliver some remarks on behalf of Florence Mayor Sara Funaro. Florence has always been a city of learning, creativity, and European spirit, so we are honored to be here. Thank you, Assessora Sparavigna. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I cannot deny how excited I am to be here. Since a few years ago, I was just right on the other side of the stage, getting all around these places and all around the university in Firenze, in our city, even though the one in Brussels and other places around Europe, just trying to create my own knowledge and my own view of how we should shape the future and how we can have a different way of being active as city council, as region, as national government, in trying to create a new European community where we are not just sharing, even though it's actually the aim of our European project, not just sharing values, idea of future, idea of how defeat the revolution we are seeing every single day, showing up their worst faces in the everyday challenges of our population, like demography, challenge and other things. But the point of everything is how we can set up in our European Union new chance for those who are going to be adults in the next years, for those who are going to rule our government in the next years, and for those who are going to be in charge to rule the world after this incredibly complex and conflict moment in which we are living. For the things I'm in charge by the mayor in our city. I am the head of the digital revolution, which is actually the AI transformation, which is actually an industrial revolution. So each single day I'm trying to find the good point of being in the middle of no idea of where we are going to go in the future. And in the moment in which you're supposed to find the new path for your community, in the single everyday, you just see the bad face of those kind of challenges. How you can set up a new economy. How can you fight for better salary and better work condition? How can you guarantee social services to people? How can you integrate human resources and digital innovation and technology in the everyday work in a public administration and not? Those kind of questions most of the time are just making a lot of confusion in our mind and making us discussing about very low things. But on the other side, we are in the best moment of this revolution. We are in the moment in which we can choose on which side we want to stand up and how we want to dominate those revolutions before they are going to dominate us. And once again, whenever you see in the everyday difficulties you seek for lack of fortune or hope, there you find the European Union. Always at the first level, at the top level, trying to find out not just new way of making new regulation, but, and think about the AI Act, isn't just a new way of not just saying what is good or not, but giving tools to us who are each single day trying to find new revolution, to make new chance for a better and sustainable development for our communities. The European Union is really standing behind us, right next to us, trying to create tools for us. There we are. Again, I already tell you how excited I am, but I mean, coming to speech where we got our education is always a hard moment in the first moment. And there we are for a new project in which we as city should be much more active in giving not just hope, but giving help, tools, and sustain to the university system, to the European university system, trying to develop always, each single day, new chance, new way to share people and to share experience and to share new way of being European citizen. In the past, we were dreaming about having a European welfare system, and I mean, we're not just dreaming it, we're even trying to create it. What about the new dream we're sharing today? A new way of studying, of making universitarian program, a new way of being citizen, not just when we are seeking for rights, not just when we are sharing things to do, but even when we are in the most delicate moments in the life of a person, when we are becoming adults just by studying. So it's an honor for us to be here. You will always have your city right next to you. I mean, we are not in Florence, we are in Fiesole. You know how close we are to these geometrical and geopolitical issues. I don't want to take any problem with the city of Fiesole, but it's an honor for us to have you here. Maybe we haven't always been able to show you how honored for us is having you here and how we need you. Again, digital revolution, climate change, migratory phenomena, demographic inversion, those kind of issues we are called to find answer in the everyday life. We will never be able to do it without the university right next to us. We will never be able to do it without the European Union next to us. So let's do it together. Let's create more energy, more connection, and you will always find us right next to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assessora Sparavigno, for those inspiring words. And now we are reaching the end of our plenary session. I would like to remind those watching us online that the afternoon session will not be streamed, but will only be available to on-site participants. Our web streaming will resume tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with the plenary session. Thank you for joining.